So, hello everybody. Hello to our second episode. This time we're discussing China coding as in software development. I'm very happy again to have such a great panel of guests today. I would like to start with Shashi Shiraguppi. And,
Hi, hello, ni hao, and namaste.
Shashi. Namaste. Yeah. And so Shashi, he's an IT professional from Bangalore in India, right?
Yes, yeah, but now in Shenzhen.
Now
I'm
in Shenzhen, in China, in
Yeah,
Shenzhen,
yeah,
since about
yeah.
10 years or longer than 10 years?
About 17 years, 17, 17
Oh,
years. Yeah,
wow. Okay, cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you really have a good understanding about China as well as India, right? So you're kind of an interface then, right?
Yeah, now, like, how to say, like, I'm more Chinese than Indian because I'm spending a lot of my life in China, that's in Shenzhen, than India. Yeah, I left India in 2003. And then from Bangalore, I moved to Denmark, and from Denmark, I came here, China, in the 2004. Since
Okay, cool.
2004, I'm here.
And the interesting thing is also that Shashi, your wife, she is from Guangdong province,
Yeah,
right?
Guangdong. Yeah,
From
she's
China.
the Shenzhen local people. Yeah, she's from Guangdong province. Yes.
And even
Yeah.
more interesting is you have two kids, and one
Yes.
kid has Chinese citizenship, and another kid
Yes.
has Indian
Exactly. Yeah.
citizenship,
Yeah.
right?
How to say? My
Yeah,
family is like 50-50, 50 Indian family and 50 Chinese family. Well,
yeah.
yeah. My first kid, the daughter, she's 12 years now, and she's holding a Chinese passport and the Indian permanent resident.
Yeah.
And my son, he's 9 years old, and he's holding Indian passport and some kind of entry exit permit in China here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
cool, but a little bit complicated in the immigration. Like we need to split. A family will be split 50-50 wherever we go, like
Oh,
different country. Yeah, yeah,
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Okay, no, it's very cool. And you also have a YouTube channel called Sashi 4X New, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Shashi Forex New. Yeah, this is my YouTube channel. Yeah,
Where you
and
introduce China to India, right? Basically.
yes, China to India or China to all over the world. I'm showing a lot of the good things from China about the China culture, the China like the traveling, and mostly about the market, like Shenzhen, the famous Shenzhen electronic market. I show a lot of
Huaxiang
things.
Bay,
What,
yeah.
yeah, Huaqiang Bay. Yes,
Yeah.
what's happening in Huaqiang Bay and what are the latest products and the price of the product. So this, and I'm showing those videos in Hindi language with English subtitles.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah. Yeah, and I've watched all of your videos, so I can completely recommend it, yeah. And
Thanks.
for those who are interested, they can find the link to your channel then in the comments here of this video. Yes. Okay.
Thanks. Great.
Good. Then the next guest is Dr. Liu Wei Ping. I think your microphone is, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, hello,
Hi,
hello,
Wei
hello.
Ping, hello.
大家好，大家好。
大家好，你好。
So Wei Ping, you basically you made your doctorate in Switzerland at the University of Fribourg, right?
Yes.
And you specialized in
yes.
machine learning or recommendation systems. What should I say?
Yes. Yes, recommendation systems. Yes, in physics department.
Right. And then after that, you came back to China, and then you had your startup.
Yes.
And now you are working for Alibaba in Hangzhou, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Alibaba, the Jack Ma company. Also.
Jack Ma company.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you met Jack Ma? Did you met Jack Ma?
Yeah, a few years ago. We were in the same conference. Yes, but in the recent months after I joined Alibaba, I haven't met him yet.
Okay, great.
Who knows? Maybe
now he has retired from Alibaba officially, so it's very hard to meet him again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the third guest is by popular demand or by popular request. It's Dr. Lukas Saul. I've introduced you last time already quite a lot, but maybe just briefly. So you are originally from America, but you are an assistant professor now in Hefei in China at the Hefei University of Technology, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay.
And, you also have a Chinese spouse as well, right?
True. Yeah.
Who's also a professor there. Yeah.
Sichuan.
Okay.
From Sichuan. Thank you, Carly. Nice to be back here, and nice to be with you, distinguished gentlemen. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Good.
Yes. So basically, then I just recently saw something very interesting on YouTube, which is about the German scientist or universal genius who lived from 1646 to 1716, so a couple of 100 years ago. And his name was Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz. And yeah, so basically he was like the father of basically the first computing machine who could compute binary, I think all 4 operations, multiplications, divisions, additions, and subtractions. And yeah, so I quickly just show some pictures of that, if that's working. Oops. Okay. And then the first question will be about that. Okay, so yeah, so this is Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, and he invented like a lot of different things. But one of those was the first computer, which looked like that.
He has same hairstyle as me.
He looks like you.
Yeah, like the same hairstyle. Long hairs.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Long hairs. Yeah.
It really does look similar. Yes. Yes.
That's true.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, sure. So yeah, this was like one attempt to create the first computing machine. Basically, I think he had several watchmakers who would try to implement his plans, but basically none of those machines eventually worked because the technology, so the mechanics was not precise enough back then to manage all these fine operations then for all these calculations. And so I guess if you talk about the CPU cycle, then basically it means you turn this handle one time around. This is one CPU cycle, right? Maybe. Who knows? Okay, and then, but basically, so like he invented like this binary operations, and the interesting thing was that he got inspiration from a 3,000 years old Chinese book called I Ching. Maybe Weiping, maybe you can say it correctly. I probably didn't pronounce it.
In Chinese, it's I Ching. Yes.
I Ching. Okay. So this is in the West, it's called the Book of Changes, and basically here in this Book of Changes, you have like this yin yang symbol, which eventually came out of that. But originally there were those symbols here, and so out of those symbols, if you know the binary operations a little bit, you can kind of see some similarities there. And yeah, so this is actually the copy of this Book of Changes that Mr. Leibniz had back then, a couple of 100 years ago. And this is how he would see, or how he would get his inspiration. And interestingly, back then, I mean, he was like a prominent person. And so sometimes he would also travel to to Russia, to the Tsar of Russia in St. Petersburg, and he tried to convince him to invest to rebuild the Silk Road, but probably not much got out of that back then. But anyway, so he was very interested in China, and he also once said that he thinks that the science language of the future would be Chinese. I mean, obviously, right now it's English, but now the first question to you all would be, I mean, obviously, if he said that, then he had some understanding. So probably he did learn some Chinese. So why do you think did he say that the science language of the future would be Chinese? So Lukas, maybe what do you think?
I can think of a couple answers. For me, I know Leibniz most from his notation that we all learn in elementary school, d by dx Leibniz notation, and of his conflict with Newton over the origin of calculus. But there is a certain way that the written characters are more clear of meaning. They're more direct in the meaning, rather than having to go through a phoneme, through a sound, then to the meaning. Of course, a lot of Chinese characters do have some phonetic clue in them, but there's a certain clarity which is attractive of the meaning being more apparent, and also being more long-lasting, so that it's a little harder for the language to change quickly. Both of these things are desirable for scientific language. However, the twists and turns of human language are notoriously difficult to predict. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Shashi, what do you think? Why did he think that?
From my experience, I think the technical language will be in English. All the science and technical language will continue in English.
But for example, in Hindi, do you have a lot of grammatics in Hindi, for example? Because in Chinese you don't have a lot of grammatics, right? It's quite straightforward.
Yeah, but Hindi is the Indian language, but in India again, more people are used for the English. For all the official or unofficial communications, because India also is a big country, so we have a lot of differences between the languages from each province to province. Like say North India is like more Hindi originated, and South is they have like their own individual the local language. So that's how like we normally speak 3 languages in India, like the English, Hindi, and the local province language. So in this, from my perspective, the science and technical language will be in English.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Weiping, what do you think? I mean, obviously, right now, whatever you do in your work is probably English, or maybe not so much, because there's not so many. There's also some coders in China who cannot speak English at all, right? But they can still.
Yes, there are. Yes. Yes, in China, English is still not that popular because people usually know how to read but don't know how to talk or speak in English. So as for me, I still use English very commonly in my ordinary days to look up for like documents. But in the daily language, we still use Chinese. Even in Alibaba, not so many people can talk in English fluently. So, but as for the word for the language for science, I don't think Chinese is gonna to take over Chinese English easily or at all. I think because English it's worldwide accepted, and every country uses to like open source to write the coding. and the Chinese is still very hard for non-native speakers. I think. I think so. So English would be still the first language for most of the people in the world.
Okay.
Yes.
I think in the time of Leibniz, English was barely even exist, so he didn't know.
I think French was actually more common than, because of the diplomats or the higher classes, they would speak French, even in Germany back then. Yeah.
Latin.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, okay. So now let's start with some individual questions. So the first question I would like to ask to Shashi. So you are originally from Bangalore in India, which is, I think, with Hyderabad and with Pune also, it's one of the big IT centers in India, right?
Yes.
Bangalore. And so it's natural that you moved to another IT center in China, which is Shenzhen. Obviously, Hangzhou is also an IT center, right? But Shenzhen is also a big one.
Still, yes, Shenzhen is still the biggest one.
Yeah.
And so, what is your feeling? What is different between those IT centers? I mean, of Bangalore and of Shenzhen, especially maybe in terms of like culture or technology. Like, where do you see differences?
When the technology comes, there'll not be any kind of culture or you're from which country, or there is no any kind of this kind of feeling, because everybody is focused on technical things. So the culture will be like unique. It'll be like the same. Like there'll not be any cultural difference when the science and technology comes. Yeah, and as far as from my experience, the Chinese engineers, they are really smart and they learn things very fast. And if I compare like the Chinese engineers and Indian engineers, like Indian engineers, they work for the company. Like if they assign any target date, they will complete well before the target date, and they'll finish the job. And whereas the Chinese engineers also, they finish the job, they do a very good job. But what the Chinese engineers, they do is they learn the job. Like for example, what my boss is doing, from which customer he's taking this job and selling to which people or which another customer. Or I can put in this way: from where he's buying the resources and making a product, and to whom he's selling. They learn this one, and then they will next day they learn entire system, how the company works and how the company business is running. They learn entire system, and next day they will come and they'll resign the company, and they say, I have opened my own company and I'm doing my own job, what his previous company was doing. Like they are very smart. Like they are like more business oriented. This happened to me. This is my own experience. Like there were two engineers were there in my team, and they left. They resigned, and I asked the reason. They say, I have opened my own company, and if you want, you can give me a business. I can do the same job for you with almost like 50% the lower cost. Like two engineers, and those guys, those two engineers, they have become like millionaire. You know, they have like they have the Audi cars and all those things. Even I don't have Audi car here, but my previous engineers, they have, and they become a big bosses now, and they have their own company. But whereas the Indian engineers, they don't do like this. Like they are not much like a business oriented.
So the Indian engineers, they are more like administration workers. So they have their job, they do their job 9 to 5, and then the rest of the life is something else. And the Chinese engineers, they're more like they're entrepreneurs. So they see the job as an opportunity to learn something.
For their own. Apart from they how to say, like they do the job and also they learn the job, and then they will think how this job can be done individually by myself. Like I go out and I open my own company and do this job. This is how.
Okay.
Yeah. And the second thing, what I've seen in terms of like, okay, software coding, the Chinese engineers, they are really good in coding. And whenever they execute a code, there'll not be any kind of syntax errors.
Okay. Yeah.
There's no any kind of errors or warnings in their coding, but they are a little bit weak in logic. So normally when I assign the job to my engineers, I just draw the flow chart or something. I will tell them what has to be done and how it has to be done and how it has to be executed. Then once if I tell them the logic, they will do in like in couple of hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
they're very good in they're good in coding. Yeah.
So they may be more careful but less flexible, basically.
They just follow the instructions what you give them, and they will do that very perfect.
Okay.
There'll not be any kind of errors or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah. So the next question is to Wei Ping. So basically, like in the West, the common coding programming languages are like Java, C#, Golang now. And in the front end, you have like Angular and React, and IDEs are Visual Studio Code and IntelliJ, whatever. So in China, do the coders, or from what you can see, do they have exactly the same tools and exactly the same preferences for programming languages, or do they have even some Chinese programming languages? Or
I think it's in China the languages, program language are mostly the same as in the other countries. I think like Java, PHP, but C# it's not so common used in China. Mostly I think Java and PHP, and also Python in the AI field, and also now Golang is also getting popular because of ByteDance. The TikTok, and this is the backend language, and in the front end there are also popular frameworks such as Angular, React, Vue.js. I think there are very popular now. And in the world, because I'm working in this field, so because of the influence by Alibaba, so Java is the dominant language, I think, and also with the IDE, IntelliJ IDEA, which is getting more and more popular in recent years over Eclipse, but PHP is commonly adopted by small companies because it's very easy to start up, and so it's and the coders in PHP also get less salary compared to Java, so it's more popular in small businesses, I think.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is for Lukas. Do you see, or did you ever see any open source software coming from China, or is this a concept that maybe Chinese engineers don't really like because perhaps they don't want to give things away for free? They would rather have somebody pay for what they do. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a difficult one. I think when it comes to open source coding, there's no borders don't affect the issue. You're contributing to a project, and so there are plenty of Chinese coders working on and contributing to projects. I think there's a little bit less general use of open source I've found in China, just from where I was, possibly just because everyone's on Microsoft. But I encountered several people who ran Linux, and of course, if you're in building servers, you have to run open source. If you really are doing anything at all that's going to last, you have to be using open source. So it's sad to see people get stuck in companies, talented coders who are working on things that won't see the light of day and will be gone. So I certainly encourage people to contribute, let your work be seen and successful by making it last. Use open source. I think these problems are not specific to any country. I was, after listening to Wei Ping's response, I just thought of a phrase of C coding language. C is for China. But that's a great question, Carl. I wish I could tell you more. I certainly think it in my work. I certainly encouraged it, but yeah, many people I work with did not want to. There's a lot of political boundaries, and maybe perhaps more in China with who the boss is, and there's more people involved, so there needs to be more hierarchy, and so it's a little harder for people to just say, "Oh, I'm putting this on GitHub," and so that's part of the problem. But it's people have to find their own way. It's not easy terrain to navigate. You have to find your own path.
But I still think like most of the popular open source projects, they are maybe originating in the United States or so, and then probably later there's still a lot of people from India and from China participating in it. I mean, whether they are working for like a company in the States or whether they are directly in China or in India, right? But the original idea is mostly still from United States for most of the projects that I see, right?
That could be true. I think that's less true in the realm of, for example, specific things like Chinese language processing software and things like using Unicode that are the things that everybody use have to be open source, and all that stuff probably comes from China. I mean, Europe has been a backbone. Germany was huge in the rise of Linux, and of course Linus was Finnish, right? And but you're right. It does seem to be.
I think it still exists. Linus Torvalds, he still exists, right?
He does. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Long live.
Yes. Good. Thank you. So, Shashi, the next question is for you. So it goes a little bit into the last answer that you gave, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit more. The question is, what do you think do young IT graduates from China expect from their workplace, for example, in Shenzhen?
The young engineers, they are how to say, like, they are very fast learners. They want to learn more things because they just come out from the university or college or whatever. Like they are still in the learning mode. So like any job we have assigned to them, they try to learn a bit faster than an experienced engineer. And also they are very innovative. So from my experience, like in my team, I had like a couple of engineers like few years back. They are fresh graduates and they learned a lot of things. The first thing is they learn technical things, and then they will learn some English also. They improve English while communicating with me, and after that they will find a good job and they will quit. This is what happened from my experience.
So basically, you think most of the young graduates in China, I mean, in the IT field, they are entrepreneurs, right? Every one of them dreams to have their own Alibaba company or WeChat or Tencent.
How to say, like a few years back, I have 5 engineers in my team. That my team is like the test development team. We do all the automatic testing system for industrial automations. So where it includes both the software and the hardware together. So in that, like 2 guys, they left the job and they have opened their own company. And the 2 young engineers, they found the better opportunity. Like they have a good offer. Like that's how they left my team. I mean, they left my company.
Okay. But that also means if they, during their work, if they find some new approach that could be
Yes. If they get a new tempting offers, then they will
not do it in their current work. They will open up their own company and do it there, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
So the next question is to Wei Ping, and it goes a little bit, into your field of like recommendations and so on. Why do you think China is so advanced in AI technology? I mean, recently we have this drama now with the American president who doesn't want to allow TikTok anymore, right? And
yes.
TikTok heavily relies on AI technology, right? I mean, that
Yes.
makes it that good. Actually, it's recommendations, right? Also, that
Yes,
plays
recommendations.
So why do you think China is so much better in this field than others?
Well, I don't think China is so advanced because I think it's China is good at using technologies in applications, but not actually. I don't think China is so advanced in this in creative things. So you see things like Alibaba and TikTok, they use AI technologies in different fields, and that's because I think there are a few things that China is easy to apply the technologies. First is I think there is a very good IT infrastructures, and there are a lot of people, so it's very easy to find a field that you can use AI technologies, such as reading recommendations. You have more data, and you get easier to recommend. So in China, there are a lot of people. You can collect a lot of data, and it's getting easier to use algorithms to recommend. Second of all, I think it's there are a lot of money investment looking for new fields to invest, and also big companies looking for next generation growth, because now the competition is very severe in China. As Shashi said, everyone wants to build his own business, and with the same technologies and in the same field. So it's every field is getting like in the Red Sea, not the Blue Sea anymore in very short time. So only like high tech fields, it's getting longer to allow someone to get into the field. So now people and also hot money are looking for the high tech things, and AI it seems like one of the things that is gonna to build things that it cannot be easily followed. So, and also I think a very important one is people in China care less privacy, because in the US, in the Western world, it's very difficult to apply AI technology such as collecting data or.
Wei Ping,
Yes.
just a question. Do you think local people in China, for example, your parents or other people, do they really care less about privacy, or
Yeah, I don't.
of course, in the West, it's also sometimes we are being told by the media that we should care about privacy in areas where maybe it's not that important to have so much privacy there. But
okay, I think it's like when you mentioned our parents, the generation of our parents. I think for them, they don't even have this how to say, the sense of privacy, especially in the IT area. They use their smartphones, and they use some of the apps, and then the apps will install other apps to collect their data, and they don't even know that the data, the apps are collecting data. So for them, they don't have the sense, And for the young generation, I think people have the sense, but still, I don't think people how to say, care that much as in the Western world. They want a safe like environment, but they think like a proper usage is okay, it's fine to bring convenience. So I think it's the difference. So for this reason, like it's more easier for big company to collect data and also to apply AI technologies. I think these are main reasons.
So basically, to summarize, it's first of all, there's a lot of people, so there's a lot of data.
Yes.
Then secondly, it is easier to use this data for AI machine learning, right? To create those algorithms. Then thirdly, there's also government investment in this field, right? The government wants companies to develop in this area, right?
Yes, as well. Yes. And also not only government, but also the big companies themselves, and also investments. They're all looking for new stars from AI field.
And all this together in this environment of a lot of entrepreneurs trying to build their own future company with very high competition, right? So this is basically the mix, then I guess, right?
Yes.
Why AI
is
right. Going so fast in China. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I think so, yes.
So the next question is for Lukas. So you are a coding teacher in Hefei. Actually, are you still right now a coding teacher? Do you do like tele teaching or video teaching, or how you call it?
I keep in touch with a couple students, but right now I'm doing very little teaching at the moment, sadly.
So they're on their own now, right?
Yeah, I did one semester. I taught at Hefei High School, number 8, computer science, and I taught a general information science at the University of Technology. And in addition to the physics, but the coding is those 2 teaching positions.
And do you think those students will become good coders? Do they have the quality what a good coder needs?
That's a great question. And some of them certainly. There's a couple in particular who really were curious and interested to learn and pushing themselves, which it takes a little bit of that to excel in writing code. You have to be willing to spend some time and dive in and try to find the problems. It's a general problem, though, I find around the world, that the quality of computer science education has dropped quite a bit since I was in elementary school. None of my students had installed an operating system. None of my students knew what a general purpose computer even was. They didn't know what the halting problem was. They probably could not have named any algorithms. And these are kind of shocking, because this stuff is the basics. But people know how to do a lot of stuff. They can use some fancy software products. They can use, suites of IDEs and can do things that I couldn't do when I was in elementary school. but the background is not there, and it's a little disconcerting because it's obviously an important sector for almost everything we do to have the software in place and working, and so we want to make sure that we have a next generation who's prepared. Did you ask me specifically about some of the individual students, or where should I go, Carly?
Well, maybe just a quick joke. Maybe I once heard that the first skill that any coder needs is to be able to sit for several hours uninterrupted in front of a screen, because not everyone can do that. So if you can do that, then that's the first skill. But anyway, so yeah, the question was basically also a little bit, well, I mean, do you think most of these students have a real interest in coding, or do you just think they think this is the next big thing and this is the way to get rich fast?
Yeah, this is where probably I differ from Shashi, and is that I had more general students, so some of them were not all that interested, and Shashi and Wei Ping are probably more are lucky to have the real top level that you get to work with. But there some people will do what they have to do to get a project going, especially in the sciences, and in a way that's a good way introduction to learning about coding. You need a project to get into, and so that's a good way to start. I think there's a lot of people just don't have computers today. This is
I mean, not in Shenzhen or in Hangzhou, but yeah, I mean, China is big, and there's also a lot of other places. Yeah.
So there is a lot you can do with a shoji, but there's not. It's a little different than the computers that I grew up with, where we have to plug a hard drive in, and command prompt is right there at all times. So it's a different computing environment. It's a little harder to get into coding, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys would agree with that.
Oh yeah. So basically, you think because most of the young generation, they are just using mobile phones and they don't really have a proper laptop or computer anymore. Obviously, with a phone, you cannot really code, right? So was that what you meant, right?
That's what I meant. Yeah, there's not as much of a need. I mean, 50 years ago, if you wanted to do anything with the computer, you had to write code. Today, you never have to even know what it is. So
yeah, there are many tools nowadays. There are many tools for every functions and all those things. There are tools. So most of the engineers just drag and drop the tool and just input whatever the required parameters has to be inputted. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's the struggle we have to work with as educators.
Yeah. So then the next question is for Shashi. Do you know if there are partnerships between Indian IT companies, like what are they, Infosys, Tata, and so on, and Chinese companies, or are there some political barriers that they cannot work together, or?
So there are, how to say, like in this technical field, there is no, I don't see any much the political or the cultural barriers here. There are some Indian companies also, they have the partnership from China, and also you see one of the Chinese, their biggest R&D center is in Bangalore. The Huawei company, the R&D center is in Bangalore. Yeah, and the second is in Shenzhen. Yeah.
Have you been to the campus of Huawei in Bangalore?
No. Because how to say, I know more Shenzhen now than Bangalore. Because I left Bangalore in the year 2003. And now only once in a year I go to Bangalore or India just for travel. I just travel there.
Okay. Yeah. So the next question is for Weiping. So yeah, it goes a little bit into this open source question. So like companies like Google, I mean, Google has Android and Golang and Angular and other projects. And Microsoft has like Visual Studio Code and other things as well, C#, whatever. And Facebook has React and other projects. Do you know whether Chinese companies also have like some technology projects that can be used worldwide? I mean, for example, I mean, what are the big ones? The big ones are Alibaba, of course, where you work, right? And then there's Tencent, which produces WeChat, and then probably Huawei as well, and Baidu maybe a little bit, right? Are there some like maybe in machine learning? Are there some projects that are being used worldwide?
Well, I think there are for recent years, these big companies are contributing more and more into the open source world. But for the moment, I don't think there are tools or languages that produced by Chinese companies and used worldwide. Even though there are a few like frameworks, such as in Java, there is Apache Double, which Alibaba donated in the recent years, and also like RocketMQ, which is also a message queue donated by Alibaba, and also Baidu open sourced its AI framework Panda, which is like similar to TensorFlow, but still, I think these tools are still mostly used in China by Chinese companies, not that worldwide. I think there are reasons. First, it's because the documents are not so English users friendly. I think most of the documents are still in Chinese and not so well organized, in my opinion. And also, the Chinese, it's very hard to promote the tours worldwide. So at the moment, still only Chinese users using the tours, I think.
But there's a trend that there will be more in the future, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, there are big companies, also maybe individuals, are contributing more and more in the open source world.
And also, this means if you want to be able to use cutting edge technology from China, then you probably have to learn the Chinese language, right? Because most of the documentation and most of the updates and so on will be in Chinese, right?
Yes, it will be also in English, but not that in detail. So it's better if you know Chinese language. It's easier to use the tools developed by Chinese, I think. But I don't think that is good. It's a good phenomenon. I think if we really want to do good in the open source world, we need to provide more and detailed English document to different users.
But again, this is still something new, I think, for companies in China, right? That you would contribute something for free, because I think probably still because the competition is so high in China, right? Why would anyone give anything away for free, right? I mean, yeah. So they still have to learn this thinking, probably, right? Yes. Okay, so the next question is for Lukas. Do you know a lot of creative coding projects in China? Maybe especially in the blockchain field, because you're quite, yeah, you have quite a good understanding of the Chinese blockchain ecosystem.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to say there. I mean, in terms of digital currency, of course, China is way in the lead in the world. Really, with everyone having used some, and it's just it's beautiful to see. I think it's great, and however, it's mostly digital fiat. There's not a lot of public currencies in common use. There's a lot of people investing, a lot of people working on projects, a lot of people working with the technology, but it's not something that a lot of people use for business in a certainly not for retail. I did see some people use Tether USDT for some business arrangements in Shenzhen, but I think that it's being familiar with using digital currency is the first step. A lot of the things holding us back from using blockchain more are social. These things work the way they have for the last decade, like Bitcoin would just. It's not a technical hurdle; it's a social hurdle. People aren't going to jump on unless other people have jumped on, and a lot of that has been Alibaba has had to go through that in the beginning. It was a lot of resistance. It wasn't something everybody did, and we don't want to do things that not everybody does because we're social people, and especially in China, right? And so I think that in a way, a lot of people are looking to what's happening in China as set the model for the world in digital currency. So I'm very curious. Also, the mining issue is one that people talk about China a lot as having a lot of Bitcoin mining, and of course, there's in addition to these Bitmain company, there's also a number of projects coming out, exchanges and Tron currency. So there are some creative projects. There's a lot of when you have a lot of money involved, you run into a lot of problems of attracting less savory elements of society. Let's put it like that. And that's true in China as well as in the rest of the world. There's a lot of people come in to sell their token, which is they're just trying to make some money off you. And it was interesting. The regulations have been very interesting too. I think that's been generally good to see that the custodial exchanges were mostly banned. I think they're kind of dangerous to have a custodial currency exchange, and so I like the way that was treated in China. It was more over-the-counter trading. Yeah, there's a lot of conferences going on. There's a lot of talk. There's so there's a lot to be hopeful for, and people doing interesting things. But it's just hard to wade through and find the good stuff.
Yeah, that's why we have you. So yeah. So the next question is to Shashi. So Shenzhen is commonly also known as the hardware Silicon Valley of the world.
Yes.
Why do you think Shenzhen has this status? Why is it much easier to develop hardware in Shenzhen than in other places?
Well, because in Shenzhen there is a lot of the resources, like the components, or like how do I say, like there are many technical companies here. many new technical companies originated in Shenzhen, and that is how. And also Shenzhen is very famous for electronics. So through that electronics components and all those companies are here, and through that how this the technology is moving forward into this even including the IT also. Yeah.
And also because there's a lot of competition, right? So all the
Yes, many competitions. Yes, and Shenzhen also is a special economic zone, and which has in like a few nearly 20 years back, the China has opened gate for Shenzhen to invest for the foreign companies. So that is how many companies came and they opened the big companies here, and that is how it has been developed compared to other cities. Yeah.
Okay. So it was basically, it had no like old things to worry about because anyway everything was new. And,
Yes, everything is new here. Yeah.
and the rate
Because
of change is so fast that people, they don't even worry about the past. They only run.
yes, yeah. And Shenzhen is how to say, it's mixed. The people from different parts of China. It's a mixed culture of China, I can say here. You
Yeah.
can
So
in Shenzhen you can see very few people speaking the Cantonese language. Here they speak more the Putonghua is more commonly used. If you go to Guangzhou or if you go to any other cities in Guangdong province, you can see people speak Cantonese, but whereas in Shenzhen they speak more Mandarin or the Putonghua here.
So an advantage then could also be the cultural melting pot.
Yeah, and it's
Combined
young population here. Here the average age of the population is between like 30 to 45 years. You don't see any. The senior citizens are very less here in Shenzhen. You can see more youngsters here.
Okay.
So that's how they have a lot of innovative ideas and the many foreign investment and many companies they open here in Shenzhen. This is how the Shenzhen is booming. Like still, it's growing. It's growing. Yeah.
Okay. The next question is to Wei Ping. It's maybe a little bit a tough question for you, but I know you can answer it. So, and also, for example, Alibaba, they have some projects or some businesses called Ant, right? Ant Financial. This is from Alibaba, right?
Yes. And financial, yes.
Ant as in the insect, right? Ant.
Yes, insect, yes.
Oh, okay. Mai.
So,
yes, Mai.
So yeah, now we come to the question. How tough is it to be a coder in China? I remember maybe 10 years ago, I mean, coders in China used to be called ants because they were like insects. They just work, right? And
Yes.
it had a very bad image. Nobody wanted to be a coder because everyone knew you have to work so much and you don't earn so much money. Of course, this has changed now. So many people would rather do a job where you could earn more money for less work. So that's why nobody wanted to be a coder, right? So, so do you think this image has changed now? Because recently I also saw a study that actually IT or software development is now the top paying job in China. It's even paying better than the financial type. So what is your opinion? You think it's tough to be a coder in China today? And do you think the image has changed for the better?
Okay. That's a very interesting question, actually. Yes, we usually mock ourselves as ants, also as IT migrant workers. You know, like the workers working in the construction field. We call our Mingong, IT Mingong, and also we call us coding monkeys, like with the very sad face in front of a computer. like every day, like with the hands like on the keyboard. So yeah, that's actually a very common, names for us. But that's actually it's usually worked by ourselves, and but in the image from the other people, I think they would think that IT works are these high tech workers, I think. So I think the images are different from ourselves and from others. In most of the Chinese people, IT workers are high tech workers, and they get well paid. So they actually we have a positive image, I think, in and also because of the big companies getting IPOs, and a lot of people are getting rich. So I think this is double size. I think it's double size. At the same one side that we work very hard, 996 ICU, right?
Oh,
And,
yes.
and on the other side, IT workers make money. So it's very interesting. And I remember there is a name for especially these Shanghai people in Zhangjiang area. It's called 经济适用男. I don't know whether you heard this name.
No.
经济适用男. It's that the people who work very hard, 996, is from 9 in the morning and 9 in the evening, and 6 days a week. And so they make a lot of money, but they don't have time to consume it, to use the money. So it's a very good object of marriage, because then the girls, the wives, will have a lot of money, and we have a lot of time to to use this money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Buy LV and Gucci bags and whatever and so on.
Yeah.
So most of the LV bags, well, okay, probably not, but many of the LV bags were originally came from the hard work of the IT person, right, in China. Yeah, that was later spent. Okay. So the next question is to Lukas. It's about the blockchain ecosystem. Obviously, you've already answered a little bit about that. Maybe another question about it. Where or what do you think would be required in China to bring blockchain to the next level? I mean, obviously, right now, a lot of things are forbidden, right? So it is a little bit depressed, but still a lot of companies are working on that field.
Yeah, I think actually there's been more positive influence from government and regulators there than anywhere else that I know. There are big initiatives to fund projects with the blockchain in every province, as I understand. I don't know the exact details of what people are doing with those government grants, but probably doing something. And that's, it's not, it certainly is better than other places where it's, like Russia and Ecuador, where the government has come down and said, we don't want people using this. And I think that's not the case in China. People have been encouraged to use it. It's not encouraged for day-to-day commerce by regulators, but it's encouraged to use it for, to how can we use this technology to help society and make things better, which is exactly the right question to ask. So how it's going to play out is, of course, not entirely certain now, but that's, the top officials have spoken out and said that people need to look at this technology. So that's a great step forward.
And I mean, compared to in Switzerland, for example, if the top official says that in China, then people really will look into it. I mean, if in Switzerland anyone says that, it's questionable whether they will really look. But yeah,
I bet you Wei Ping knows more with through his connections with Alibaba. Are there some initiatives to include any public currencies with Alibaba? Any blockchain that you know of?
Well, I think Ant Finance is using blockchain to do things, but I don't know exactly what they are doing. But blockchain is used widely, I think, in the contracts, making contracts on internet, and also in in storing evidence of like licenses and other things on internet. I think it's getting popular as far as I know.
Yeah, it's perfect for like notary, what we call notary service, to official stamp on this document is real, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, there's this red stamp, right? The red star stamp, which is on every document, right? To make it official. I mean, that thing you could do on a blockchain, right? So the next question is for you, Weiping. So, I mean, I'm a coder myself, and half of the day I'm browsing on Stack Overflow to find some solutions. So now my question is, do developers in China also use Stack Overflow? Is it accessible in China? And are there any other similar websites in China that are maybe just in Chinese language, where also coders look up for help when they have questions?
Well, yes, it's accessible. It's accessible, and but it's not that popular because it's in English, and as I said, Chinese coders are not that good at English. So also another reason is due to the slow internet speed between international countries. So people, most of the people know Stack Overflow, I think, but they don't use it a lot. And in China, there is like a copy to China website called Segment Fort, but it's very similar, but it's not that popular because it has very high standard of quality as Stack Overflow, and I think Chinese people are not that used to guide it to do something in coding in writing blogs. So there is another website called CSDN, which is like a Chinese computer science network, and it's very popular, and it's over 20 years old, and since the very beginning. But the thing is, the quality on this website is not that high. People are writing blogs and also asking and answering questions on this website, but I don't think there are very good quality. There are a lot of duplicated contents on this website, but that's but that's still people are using it because there are not many other ways to access good qualities. So yeah, that's what I see.
Do you think that the coders in China who don't understand English very well, do you think many of them are trying to learn better English, or you think they don't try to get better in English, they just use whatever they have in Chinese language?
Well, I think people are trying to learn better language, English, but it's not that easy, and also because of the slow internet connections, people it's getting more difficult to access. So and also they will spend more time, but anyway they will get the the answers on Chinese internet. So it's difficult to get that English like Stack Overflow.
Okay, so yeah, I think it's getting late in China now. I'm sorry, it's a little bit long. So maybe we'll just have one last question to all of you, and then we'll wrap up for today. And this question is, you all have kids, and the question is, when do you think, or do you think at all, that they should learn to code, and how? Should the public school or the school teach them to code, or should the parents teach them to code, or should the parents buy them an after-school class to learn to code? Let's start with Shashi.
Yeah, I can see now my son is in the 4th grade. He has one class for the coding.
4th grade? How old?
Yes.
How old is
he?
Yeah,
he's 9 years old now, almost 10. He's almost 10. Yeah, he's in the 4th grade, and they have one class for the programming.
Wow.
The coding. Yeah. So there is one special application. It has they have to tell, like for example, they have to assign a name to a turtle, and then they put the turtle move dot when the forward function comes forward, and then they have to give some number, and in the screen the turtle, it moves accordingly. Like so like they have to write a program that the turtle has to make one round or one square, move forward, turn left, move downward, then turn, like they have like this kind of thing. I saw recently. Yeah, it's really good. It's a very small, like in a primary school, they are giving like this kind of education. This system I really appreciate. I like this one. Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, like how like they're making this one, like for the kid, it should be like a fun as well as play, as well as some kind of education. It's all mixed together.
Super.
Yeah.
Cool. So Lukas, maybe you next.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know how to best expose my children. There are some cool things like Shashi described that you can do even with young students. Sometimes some people say I've heard some coders say that they don't want their kids to do any coding. It's a long, hard path sometimes, but I disagree with that. I think it's certainly at least give them some exposure and try. And yeah, I personally think that once you have some enough background, you should be able to write some code in a text file and simple compiler. It's just simple, like the way it was done 30 years ago to get started.
But do you think
a lot of fancy tools?
Do you think your kids should learn on their own, or you think you should teach them, or the school should teach them? Or
well, it would be great if there was some at the school. Around here, that's not going to happen.
So you're in the United States right now,
United States, yeah.
But that's
okay. Let me put in this way: like the coding or the programming is something like an English language, where in the very beginning they teach you like A for apple, B for bat, C for cat. Like same thing, like what my son is in the 4th grade. He's they put the coding in the very basic way, like they have to move the turtle, or they have to move a ball in circular shape or square shape. Like they're teaching like in the very basic, like the same like English language, like okay, A for apple, B for bat. Like they started from this level. So then
logic, right?
So certain period of time, that will be like universal, like it will become a very common like coding. Everybody knows coding.
Yeah.
And based on once the kids grow up, based on their interest, they will take the career, or just they go for like a different subject or something like that.
Cool,
Sounds great. Yeah, some exposure is good.
Yeah.
Weiping, what do you think?
Well, yeah, my kid is still little. He's only like 1.5 years old.
Okay.
Well, I haven't really think about that, but for me, I think I would treat his interest like for fun and for play, as Dash said, and I hope that if he's really interested, I will guide him like to know the basics. As Lucas said, at least the basic construction of a computer, and the very very basic programming, algorithms and data structures. I would guide him, but whether if he's not interested, I wouldn't force him to learn or to code. I think I would make himself to let him choice to choose.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, my answer would be, and of course, well, I personally think if you want to learn coding, you can really only learn it by yourself. I mean, you cannot go you cannot read a book and then you can code, or you cannot listen to a teacher and do nothing and then you can code. So you really have to trial and error all these things on your own until you understand it. But for me, I think our son, I think when he's around 7 or 8 years old, I will try to motivate him to do some easy coding, maybe a website or whatever, like google.com or so,
Yes.
Yeah. But yes, personally, I think it's a skill that is probably necessary in the future for, like English today or Chinese tomorrow. Who knows? Right? Yeah. So basically, then we're at the end of this discussion. I would like to thank you very much for these very interesting answers. And I would also quickly like to promote your projects a little bit. So again, Lukas, I forgot to promote your project. It's actually a blockchain project called Woodcoin. So wood as in tree, wood, right? And it's the symbol is called LOG, right? Lock, right? Yeah. And it's you have some Chinese developers there as well, because you have like a logo that is Chinese, I think, for your coin.
Yeah, there's a company in Shenzhen that was working with it's just it's an open source project. There's not that much to share, but and we had a company in Shenzhen that designed a wallet that works with this.
Cool. And today I've just I was surprised that on Coin Market Cap I could find your coin. I could
really?
find Woodcoin. Yeah,
I didn't know that. Okay.
Cool.
I also did not, but I looked it up today. So congratulations.
Okay, good.
Good. Then I would also like to promote again Shashi's project. Again, your YouTube channel. I appreciate it very much. I think it's a wonderful thing that you are doing, and I think there should be lots and lots of more similar things that people would do, because you're really trying to bring India and China close.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I'm building up like a friendship bridge between India and China.
Yes, and I mean, this is, I'm sorry to say, it may also not look very good for me, but I mean, like Lukas, you're a space guy, right? So actually, you used to be, for several years, you used to be a NASA interstellar boundary explorer, right?
Yeah, in Switzerland, I was a postdoc there working on that project. Yeah.
Yes. So
probably at the same time you were in Freiburg, Weiping, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. So actually, you were investigating what's going on at the edge of our solar system or something like that, right?
Yes.
But if you turn the telescope back to the Earth, then I think probably the most important thing over all these thousands of years are probably that India and China get along well. The rest is actually not that important. Even Trump is not that important. So it's
we all need to do our part. We all need to do our part.
Exactly. And Shashi is doing exactly that.
Yes, bravo.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure that the people of India and China understand each other. I think this is a very, very important.
Yeah, basically they're very friendly. Actually, the India and Chinese people, they are really, really good friends. Like they're very easy to go along each other. Only these some kind of like a political disturbances, but the local people they're very friendly.
Yeah, and the thing is even that the most famous story in China is the journey to the West, which is some Chinese guys going to India, right? So for hundreds of years, right?
Yeah.
Okay, again, I would like to promote your channel. Your channel on YouTube is called Shashi, so like your first name, and then 4x.
4x, new. Yeah.
I will also post the link again in the comments.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining.
Okay.
And Weiping, again, I would also like to promote Alibaba, but probably they don't need any promotion, right?
Okay, thank you.
I guess everybody in Switzerland has already bought something on AliExpress. So
really?
like a couple of months ago, I walked past the office, the post office in my town where I live. And then I saw some boxes, and on each box you could see on each box you could see that so where the post was coming from. And there were a lot of boxes where there was a China label on it. So I think a lot of parcels from China back then, probably from AliExpress.
Okay, it's good to know.
So yes, yeah. Anyway. I think that's the end of our discussion. I'm sorry that it got so late for you in China. But yeah, thank you very much for your answers. I learned a lot, and yes, I hope our viewers too.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, bye.
Thank you too, Kali.
And see you out.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.